You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffauf.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and here with me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Raffauf.
Yeah, it's good to be here, and maybe not like as much during this week, but towards the end of the week, and certainly today, it started to feel like fall, right?
Yeah,
so.
Excellent. I didn't like Monday to Thursday. Wasn't my favorite temperature-wise.
Okay, because I went to a baseball game.
That's right, you did.
It was good weather for a baseball game.
You were at Citizens Bank Park to see the Phillies win, which was good. We like that around here. Hence, both of us wearing shirts that we didn't plan on this, but it's that time of year.
It is
for
that
the
time
second
of
year in a row, Justin.
Hey,
Not complaining.
keep it rolling.
I did talk with sponsor of the show and guest of the show, Mike Drago, this afternoon. And, of course, he is very downtrodden
Yes.
at the moment. At the time, it was just about the Game 1 loss.
Yeah, the vaunted AL East still looking for the first playoff win.
Rough, but, both of us here are supporters of the Orioles.
Oh, absolutely.
As long as it doesn't impact the Phillies fandom.
Exactly.
So we feel bad like Mike does at the moment. But otherwise, in non-Orioles baseball related, things are going pretty good.
Yeah, we'll take it.
The Penn State didn't lose this weekend, didn't have a game, bye week. Both our NFL fandoms are riding high. We both get to celebrate Victory Monday tomorrow.
A few weeks could be rough.
You know why it could be really rough?
Yes.
Well, the Phillies could maybe still be playing, which will make things really anxious. We'll have guests on the show. At least that's the plan, depending on what happens with the Phillies. We could be moving times around. I hope that's a problem what we have to have.
It'll be a good problem.
Yeah, if it's October, 22nd or whatever that would be, 2 weeks from now, and we're worrying about will the show overlap with playoff baseball, that's a good sign.
Yes.
As Jeff Reinhardt and Mike Drago will be joining us for a preview of the Manor Township game. That's in 2 weeks. But also that Sunday night, if we would be broadcasting at that time, the Dolphins and Eagles play each other.
Oh, gosh.
So, all in fun, right? We don't take it too seriously.
Yeah, that's like the one fantasy football league I'm in. This is just for fun in the title, and so every time we get downtrodden, including the last 2 weeks, this week I'm just getting blown out, and I'm just like, just remember, everyone, it's just for fun.
I'm sure everyone takes that real well.
Yeah.
Well.
I just hope both teams have fun.
Most importantly, though, here for a fifth straight Wilson victory.
Yes.
So Victory Sunday here on the Bulldog Hour, happening down in Landisville for a very long time. The game took forever.
We didn't even get pizza
We
afterwards.
didn't get pizza at our normal. We go to Parma Pizza after every time Wilson beats Hempfield, because they've never lost down at Hempfield when we've been in attendance. Go to the pizza place, but we couldn't have that opportunity because the game wasn't even over until they closed.
I'm really glad we weren't able to schedule a pickup.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what we would have done. I guess we lose our pizza.
We would have had to send someone to go pick it up.
Yeah, who?
I don't know. We find someone.
So no celebration pizza, but celebration nonetheless because Wilson got the win. 49-34 over the Hempfield Black Knights. Interesting game, which we will talk about here momentarily. But a win is a win. 5-2 on the season, 5 straight wins in a row for the Bulldogs, which means that for another year, the streak lives on. The non-losing streak continues, which started back in 1964 with John Gursky's first season in West Lawn. That streak lives to see another day.
Yeah.
Wilson got to 5 wins again. We'll search for win number 6 this Friday against Penn Manor, in which they can ensure a winning season, which would extend that streak as well. And those two things are always at the top of people's minds once the calendar hits October. So all in all, positive things to talk about on the show tonight. But before we do that, we do want to thank sponsors of the Bulldog Hour here for Season 9, my dad, Bill Mays, and Mays Sandwich Shop, as well as White Star Tours. Appreciate them stepping up and presenting the show here in Season 9. In addition to Mays Sandwich Shop and White Star Tours, we want to thank Mike Drago and MikeDragosports.com, the Hop family, Andy Herr, and our 5 anonymous donors. Really appreciate all the support year in, year out from many of those same individuals who never want to be known, but we know, and we thank you and appreciate it. There are many ways you can help us here on the show with sponsorships, advertising, in-kind donations, visiting the website, bulldoghour.com, and make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Wilson Bulldogs Football. Have a lot of stuff on there, not just the podcast, but other Wilson football videos as well. We talked about that a little bit last week. And make sure you're downloading the podcast version of the show on Apple Podcasts. And we're all now not just on Spotify podcasts, but that has been shifted over or in tandem with regular Spotify. Apparently a lot of people listen to podcasts like this show on Spotify podcasts. So that's cool. I'm an Apple guy. I've been using Apple Podcasts for a long time, but Spotify apparently is the place to be for podcasts right now. And the Bulldog Hour is on there, so make sure you hit us up there. And of course, our normal social media channels: Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, all those things. You can hit us up with Jamin's Justin's favorite. I don't know where I got that.
Yeah, like and share, right? Spread the word. Helps us kind of figure out what you like and what you want more of.
All right. I just posted the photo album from the win at Hempfield across social media, so you can check that out there. Yes, I did want to mention that as well, so thank you. I got a YouTube comment from Thomas Deeds. He said, congrats on the shout on the TV coverage of the game. My dad actually was keeping me in the know of what was happening on the Fox 43 broadcast on High School Sports Live, hsslivetv.com, which PCN actually rebroadcast the game last night. I forgot to DVR it. That's my bad. I'm thinking that right now. I just realized I didn't do that. But obviously, YouTube has an archive of that. I would like to go back and scrub through the game and hear exactly what they said. And my dad said I think they mentioned us at least 2, maybe 3 times throughout the broadcast, which is fantastic. So if anyone from Fox 43 and the High School Sports Live group, ever wants to join us on the Bulldog Hour, we're always looking for guests,
we'll
especially in the off season. That would be a fun show to do. We have a list of guests we always would like to invite on when we do stuff in February, April, and June leading up to the new season. A couple former players we're going to talk about getting on the show this off season. A few history people that I like to reach out to already have maybe lined up, but any other media folk would like to join us on the show, we would love to have them. And the Fox 43 and High School Sports Live did a fantastic job, and apparently they watch the show. So
yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, I love it. The next live show will be next Saturday, so day change. We think it's going to be at our normal time. That may change. It's my annual trek on Sunday to Knoebels with my family, so we're shifting the broadcast of this show. We'll recap the game against Penn Manor and preview the game against McCaskey a day earlier, so we'll be live next on Saturday, October 14th. We think at 8:30, but if that changes, we will certainly post about it. All right, Justin, deep in the thick of it now. 2023 schedule up, and we are 7 weeks down, prepping for Game 8 here in. By the time we play the Comets, mid-October.
Yeah, it's crazy. Winding down that second and last for now column. Hopefully, I doubt you'll make another graphic, but hopefully we'll have plenty of bracket analysis as we hopefully have plenty of episodes left. But yeah, that regular season is winding down. Kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. It feels like it takes forever to get here, and then football season just breezes by, at least for people that like football season.
Yes.
Other people, like maybe our family, not super thrilled all the time with the immense amount of time and effort we put into football coverage and football consuming. from the end of August through, well, when you're talking pro, really into February. But really, it's September, October, November, I feel like our peak football season. That's when I'm, really, really tuned in, especially when Wilson's still playing. But we'll talk about the Penn Manor Comets, the next opponent, here briefly. But up first, we will talk about the Hempfield game, and maybe the most important thing outside of the win for the 2023 Bulldogs was offensive coordinator and longtime Bulldogs assistant coach Jeremy Palm with the win against the Black Knights. That was his 200th on the staff with the Bulldogs. Maybe an asterisk there. There's a little bit of a gray area with his official start date because he was on the staff with Southern Junior High back in the day, but also was helping with the high school. But for our purposes and what the stat book had said for a long time, he started in 2004. So this was his 20th season, and he's already won 200 games. You're averaging 10 wins a season. That's a pretty good career.
Yeah, and you made a graphic, so it's official now.
Yeah, right. Once the graphic is made, we wash our hands, and it's official. This is what we're going by. So congratulations, Coach Palm, on 200 wins as a Wilson football assistant coach. That's a huge number, and to think, if you look at the stats book, he trails a bunch of people in that category, including a couple that are on the staff right now. Right. Now, one is also the head coach, but before he became the head coach, he racked up a lot of wins as an assistant coach too.
Yes.
All right, now we're gonna try. I do apologize once again. We have no interviews despite the win. Why? Well, because the game got over so late, and the team and coaches had to walk so far to get to the buses and get out of there. And we're also getting kicked off the field because the Hempfield band was supposed to play for homecoming. There was no time to talk to anyone. So that's unfortunate because there are a bunch of guys that we haven't talked to yet or much at all this year that we want to. But barring some awful weather or something else, we will get them in the next few weeks.
The game lasted longer than NFL games. It was...
Yeah,
well,
it was long.
The event took a long time. So,
it was a little brutal.
Wish we could do that, but it just wasn't in the cards for this game.
Unfortunately, it wasn't. But we do congratulate Coach Palm on the milestone victory. All right, let's talk about the game, Justin, and get things started here. It couldn't have started much better for Wilson. Quickly got out to a 21-0 lead.
Right.
And I believe everyone cheering for the red and white was thinking, hey, we're putting together a complete game. This is the way we needed to start. This is the way we wanted to see things go against a team that we thought we were better than. At least I think most people thought that with the way that the season had been trending and the results so far. We expected to win the game, and it was nice to come out of the gate and show that the expectations were being met, at least initially.
Yeah, it was a really fast start, and kind of contributions from every kind of aspect there. Offense was getting it done. Had some nice special teams play. Things were rolling, and it seemed to be going really well. Jump out to that 21-0 lead and able to kind of handle our business and take care of what we needed to do.
Yeah, what do you say? You jump out 3 touchdown lead, things are going pretty good.
Right.
Let's see if I can pull. I'm gonna get the video up so we can see some of the highlights from the game, which I think would be fun here. So let me see if I can do that here quickly.
Yeah. So
recap. All right. Yeah, we got it here. Let's move that over and take a look. It's some video recap, and Justin and I will talk about it. All right, so Wilson started out strong. Got a nice opening drive. Some passes from Tommy Hunsiker to Jackson Wagner. Would finish the first drive with a touchdown pass to Maddox Gruber. And you can already see a theme here. Tommy Hunsiker, again, having a great night. Amazing spinning moves by him to get out of trouble, connecting with Maddox. Maddox also had a big night. We'll get to the stats shortly. But Wilson was up 7-0 quickly. Hunsiker to Jackson Wagner again gets him down inside the 10. Wilson would go up 14-0 on a touchdown from Corral Akings. Then they'd force a punt. Edison Case would field at midfield and take it to the house. And with about 4 minutes to play in the first quarter, Wilson was up 21-0. Now Hempfield would strike back, cut it to 21-7. And eventually Wilson would extend it to 28-7 before Hempfield would fight back to 28-14. And then just before halftime, after Hempfield had cut it to a 2-touchdown lead for Wilson, Hunsiker would connect with Gruber again for a huge 80-yard score to go into halftime 35-14. Hempfield would stick around, though, the entire game and always fight back in some manner. Why is this score never right? Like, I don't understand.
Right.
Ignore all that stuff because none of it is right. I'm not sure what exactly goes on. If you're watching this, the huddle stat recap is never right. I don't understand because the score wasn't even right. Kind of an important thing to get right. But at least the highlights were good. We got to see some touchdowns, which is good.
Right.
But yeah, 49-34 was the final. Wilson on top, 15 points. Most of the way, it was a 20, 21, 22 point lead.
Yeah, it kept fluctuating between 2 and 3 scores. Hempfield would cut it to 2, and then Wilson would generally go down and bump it back up to 3, which is great. But when you jump out to 21-0, you have this hope that we'll just keep expanding on this. Now, a lot went wrong for Hempfield early on too, so that could be where part of that's coming from. But it's just, it's just one of those things you wish it could have gone a little bit differently. But you also saw glimpses of what Hempfield kind of thought they were going to have going. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's kind of weird in the sense of, I don't know. They're a weird team to figure out a bit too. We talked about this last week on our preview show, but a team that won the section last year, they did lose a number of guys, but at the same time, they return their quarterback, return their top receiver, and return Power 5 D-line commit. So just it's a little different, but
yeah, it is. And I'm scrubbing through here because there's certainly a play that I found it. Hooray! So we're gonna take a look at this one, Justin. So
because you're a glutton for punishment.
Well, yeah, just like if you weren't at the game or you weren't watching the Fox 43 High School Sports live stream, you're probably wondering. You're probably not wondering. Well, no, you've heard about it because someone that you talked to about the game had to have brought it up. It was late in the game, late in the fourth quarter. Wilson was on defense. Hempfield was trying to cut it to a 2-score lead again. Wilson was up by 22 or something like that at the time. And they were not quite... No, they were in the red zone. They were inside the 20. They're at Wilson's 16 or 17. Defense had been bending, hadn't broken yet on the drive, trying to get a stop. And for all intents and purposes, that is exactly what happened. So let me play this passing play right there. If you're watching, you see Adam Woods gets the interception, and everything seems good and grand and wonderful. Wilson stops, get the ball back, up 3 scores, run the offense, run some clock, probably move on. But that's not what happened, because despite the officiating crew spotting the ball, changing the directions of the chains, and the Wilson offense on the field, there was eventually a huddle by the officiating crew.
Only 2 of them.
They all ended up walking over eventually. Okay. And after they had been talking for what felt like a long time, may have only been 15 seconds, a flag was thrown. And they dropped it and then threw it back farther. Which, well, what's that penalty on, and where is that coming from? Was something said? Is this a personal or a unsportsmanlike conduct? Was there chirping going on? No one has any idea what's going on because they keep standing there and talking. Well, then you see the head ref walk over, and he was kind of shaded by the Wilson offensive huddle. But from the other side, I see, and other people saw him signal pass interference on Wilson. And again, the ball had been spotted for Wilson offense. The Wilson offense was on the field, and the change had changed direction for Wilson to be on offense before any of this happened. So, of course, the coaches and the players and the fans are going nuts because we have no idea what just happened. No one saw anything on the field. There was no flag during the action or even just after the action. This was literally after the stoppage. Like the game had stopped. There was a change of possession. And the head official came over to talk to an irate Coach Doms, which Fox 43 said was justified because despite what they called, there is no proof of anything that they said being true. There's no pass interference in the video. And what was told to our coaches is proven incorrect in the video. Not just that there was a pass interference, but the explanation is a lie. So I have no idea what to say about that. It's not, in the end, it doesn't matter. The game was won, but you expect there to be a consistency to the games.
There was also there were a lot of weird moments like this. For example, like when you played the game recap, that was the play that they flagged for us a late hit on that touchdown when our lineman had just blocked the guy and blocked him. And when that play happened, I was watching it. Like I could see it happen, and they didn't throw the flag right away. Their player got up and complained to the official, and then he threw the flag. And I honestly thought that, that kid got flagged for for talking to the official or for like yelling at the official, because it was that far removed from the actual play that's what I thought. You know what I mean? Like I thought it was so far back that that's what they were like calling, and no, they called it there at another time. And I think they may have ended up, what Hempfield had a big fourth down conversion that they flagged, and then they waved off the flag. Now that one, I think that pass may have been behind the line of scrimmage, and that might be why they ended up picking up that flag. But like it just,
I like that this is just looping over and over again.
Yeah. It just seemed there were some interesting decisions made. I'll leave it at that.
The explanation that we were told was that the umpire wanted to throw the flag but was unable to get to the flag, like that it was caught or he missed it, but at no point anywhere do you see any official go for a flag at all.
Right.
And the person that supposedly was doing this, the umpire who is watching the line of scrimmage, like that's his job, and you see him doing that. He doesn't even turn until the ball is past him. He had no way of seeing if there was a supposed pass interference. Right. So none of what they said holds up. It's just inexplicable. And there was no reasoning for it. Zero. So I don't want to spend any more time on it because in the end it didn't matter.
Because there aren't enough blood pressure meds.
Right, yeah, exactly. But it's almost more the principle of the matter. Like, what if it was a tie game, or we were only up by 3 or 6?
Right.
Because Hempfield scored on this possession that they got back,
right,
after turning the ball over. So it was just very odd. The entire second half was not well controlled.
No,
it was not well officiated.
No,
there were absurd calls, and you mentioned the one on Jack on the one touchdown. He literally was engaged on the guy the entire time, did not do anything that you are not allowed to do. And the Hempfield player didn't like that he had gotten pushed around on his back.
It seemed like you blocked too hard.
You blocked too hard. Yeah. Well,
not illegal.
No,
not illegal.
We've seen that at our middle school games.
You blocked too hard. We've
had an
official
aggressive
say
player
that to us. He hit him too hard.
He hit him too hard. Yeah, Troy Corson hit him too hard.
Yeah,
that's not a penalty. Was it a legal hit? Yes, but it was too hard. That's not a penalty.
Right.
Like you don't get to take control of the game, and the officials apparently wanted to make it known that they they were in control, but not in the way they're supposed to
Right,
be in control.
right.
It was just bonkers.
and
It really was.
To be clear, it's just one of those things too where it's tough because there's obviously going to be times where I disagree. You know what I mean? Like that's the reality of sports.
Right.
I'm going to disagree, but
there's
the
a difference.
process of how you came to some of these and the explanations being given or not given are not like that doesn't stand up. And so. If I don't know, there's lots of things.
It was very frustrating.
It's like that. You watch the games today, or think about almost any replay you see for NFL games, and they're like, half the people are like, oh, it shows this, and the other half are like, no, it shows this, or like, there's room for that, right? And that's always going to exist.
There's gray areas and things open to interpretation.
But when you
this was not that.
When you don't throw a flag, and then you spot the ball for the other team,
literally change possession. The change had moved,
right,
which comes from the officials,
right. And then you go back and be like, oh wait, I meant to throw a flag. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. You don't get to go back and be like, oh, I messed up on that last play. No, the play's over. Like you had your chance to call it, you didn't do it. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
I mean, I'm trying to censor myself as much as possible to not.
I know.
I don't want to sound bitter because again, Wilson won.
Right.
But that was ridiculous. Right. That specifically. The other ones you want to fight about, fine.
Right.
They were the wrong call.
They fall in that category.
But it's kind of like they made a judgment call. Still think it was the wrong judgment call. It was bad and frustrating. But at least it's at that point where that's what they think they saw.
Right.
Okay. This one you don't get a pass on this one.
Right.
It's the entire process was absurd. But as your dad alludes to, are we risking a fine by the league? I do want to just put it out there that this is not associated with the Wilson School District in any way. We appreciate the access that the football team gives to us, but we do not speak for the team or the coaches in any way.
Right.
So, yeah, if that has to be said, and then look, and Justin, you and I talked about this after the game. Being an official is a thankless job.
Oh, it's awful.
And it is not a job I would ever want. But there is an accountability that comes with it, and that was just bad. It was just bad. And I appreciate the men and women that are officials across the PIAA landscape.
So the only reason that the games can take place,
right? And we need them. And it was Officials Appreciation Week, and we
Right.
saw a lot of great posts about it. So I don't want to beat a dead horse or worry about it anymore. But it was a part of the game that I knew a lot of people would like to see if they didn't see it already.
well, I've been asked about it multiple times all weekend.
Well, there you go. So someone's asking now if they'll send the game field of the weird penalty to the PIAA.
No,
I don't think the PIAA has anything to do with that. I assume it would go to the officials group
and
in the
and
area.
that already exists, and they already do that kind of stuff. But no, I guarantee our guys
Just
have
moved
moved.
on.
They've moved on from
on.
it after the end of the game. They
Now,
absolutely moved on from it.
If it was at a pivotal point in a close game that could have directly led to a loss, it probably would be sticking in their side a little bit more. But like Justin said, I believe they probably moved on. I'm not sure much has been said about it after Friday night.
No.
Once the weekend came, and especially now that they're prepping for Penn Manor,
They've
moved on.
The fandom part of it is here on
Right,
the
yeah,
show.
this is
That's
us talking
That's
about
our department.
What we got to see, and we have two different vantage points. I had it from the sideline. You have it from up in the box. It looked ridiculous in both vantage points, and that's it. Because I want to move on. I don't want to talk about it anymore. But for those of you that hadn't seen it, there you go. Hopefully you were watching. And if not, if you're listening to this podcast version only, audio only, find us on YouTube and pull it up and watch it there. Or go watch the game stream. Again, High School Sports Live was there and has it on their YouTube page. Okay. So let's cover some stats because there are some great performances, Justin, throughout the Wilson win. A lot of people could have gotten player of the game this week. It was a tough call. It was hard because the defense struggled at times. They gave up actually a massive amount of receiving yards to one player. Gave up 299 in the game. from Jackson Landis. He was 27 of 43 passes, 27 of 43 for 299 yards and 2 touchdowns. However, 16 of those 27 completions and 203 of those 299 yards and one of the 2 touchdowns went to Micah Gates, who we talked about on this show, last year after they beat us, and this year, last week leading up to this game, that he was their most important player. That was the most important tandem, Landis to Gates.
Yeah.
Wilson didn't stop it.
No.
They didn't let it hurt or ruin the game, but they were not able to corral Micah Gates. 16 catches, 203 yards, and a touchdown, including a long of 47. So, again, Landis to Gates was a thorn in the Bulldogs' side. Thankfully, they will unlikely to see it again. Those players are both seniors, both very talented players, doing a lot, keeping their team in the game, especially in that second half.
Yeah, they played well. They played well.
There just didn't seem to be enough around them to keep pace with everything that Wilson's thrown their way, especially on offense.
And in general, they couldn't stop us.
Right, exactly. Tommy Hunsiger was 16 of 23, 290 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had a long of 80 yards. That one went to Maddox Gruber, 4 catches, 112 yards, 2 touchdowns. Both of those players up for Player of the Week in the PennLive.com voting. So head to PennLive.com. I've posted the link, or I retweeted the link on Twitter. So check out that and vote in the Penn Live PA Football Player of the Week poll. And both Tommy Hunsiger and Maddox Gruber up for that award. Early in the game, Tommy was looking towards Jackson Wagner. He had 4 catches for 72 yards. Edison Case only ended up with 2 catches for 44 yards, but one of them was a touchdown. Cam Zullinger also had a catch for a touchdown in the second half. On the ground, Corell Akings took over there. He ended up with 131 yards on 10 carries and 2 touchdowns. So you're starting to hear the names right there of people up for our player of the game. Defensively, Gruber also flying around there. 7 total tackles for him. Logan Kurzweig had 7.5 tackles. 1 for loss. Austin Valukiewicz had 6.5, 1 for loss, a pass breakup. Gruber had 2 breakups as well. Freshman Michael Glover had 5.5 tackles, 2 of those for loss, including the team's only sack of the game. And we had a couple block kicks. Now, these are both credited to Jonah. However, I'm pretty sure the field goal block was by Jack Dendel, from what I could tell, from what I've seen. Okay. I thought it hit his paw at the line.
I'm watching through the screen, so I couldn't really tell.
And he was the one celebrating pretty hard. Now, maybe Jonah also got a piece of it.
Yeah, I
don't definitely sounded like it thumped against the lineman. And I know I have a picture that looks like the ball is being blocked by Jack. But maybe Jonah got a piece of that as well. Jonah definitely got a piece of an extra point later, which I believe is after he was encouraged to go a little harder on the next one on another punt or an extra point attempt that they thought he could have gotten, and he got the next one. Right. So and obviously we know Jonah got a block against Roman Catholic that he returned for a touchdown in game 1,
and he also had an interception.
Jonah did also have an interception, and Edison Case also coming down with an interception, and Adam Woods interception overruled by the officiating crew. So again, a lot of guys that could have gotten this award. It could have gone anyway. All of them in consideration have gotten it before. Felt like it should have gone to an offensive guy, though, tonight, just because of the way that they move the ball at ease. And I will probably get slack for this one because it's now the second time in a row and third time this season. But in the end, that's the way the offense goes, and he is up for Player of the Week. So it's going to go to Tommy Hunsiger again. 290 yards and 4 touchdowns have a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
And he is having a sneaky good season for the Bulldogs. I mean, we've talked about it already, but he's starting to put together one of the better all-time seasons for a Wilson quarterback.
Yeah.
And he's got at least 3 games to go. And if he can get 2, 3, 4 touchdowns a game, he's going to be pushing. He's actually, so I believe I told you he's at 17 touchdowns for the season.
So from total his touchdowns or passing touchdowns?
That's passing touchdowns.
Okay.
So I think he only needs like 6 or 7 more to surpass to move into second place in the single season passing book, and he would be surpassing assistant coach Chad Henne, who currently is in second place with the single season passing touchdown record, because he was beat out by Jake Templin in 2014, who owns the season record of 30. Now, that team got to play 15 games. We'll see how many games this team gets to play. Chad did that. I believe that was his 2002 year, my senior year, and we played 13 games. No, sorry, we played 12 games that year. So he threw, I think it was 22 or 23 in that 2002 season. Jake Templin had 30 in 2014. Tommy Hunsinger are up to 17 with at least 3 games to go. Hopefully, probably 4. So if he can get 2 or 3 a game on average, you're talking about mid to upper 20s.
Yeah.
So that'd be a heck of a season. Yardage wise too. Let me pull it up because I don't want to. I know I texted it to you, but let's see where he's at yardage wise. 1,544 passing yards. So there's not too many Wilson quarterbacks that have thrown for over 2,000 yards in a season.
He's got a good shot.
I say that. I thought I had the stats book sitting here. I would have pulled the stats book out. It's not sitting next to me like I thought it was. Well, I'll have to look into that, and next week I'll have to remember to have a list of the Wilson quarterbacks that have thrown for over 2,000 yards in a season, because Tommy is certainly on pace. He's averaging 220 yards a game. So if he maintains that pace, he would get almost to 2,000 after week 9 against McCaskey. If he throws for 220 against Penn Manor this week and McCaskey the following week, he would be all but at 2,000 yards for the season with at least a game to go. So he is on pace to get over 2,000 yards passing, and that would nearly double his total from a year ago. And we know he's already surpassed his touchdown total from a year ago. Obviously, Tommy wasn't doing it himself. We talked about how great of a game that Maddox Gruber had, Edison Case, Jackson Wagner, and then those guys on defense. Oh, Corell Akings, over 100 yards rushing. Great performance on the ground. I know people have been very disappointed with the lack of a ground game or a consistent ground game. Corell was the guy this week. Nick Fiorini missed the game due to an illness. So it was Corell the whole way. He was the guy getting the bulk of the carries, and it worked in his favor. He went over 100 yards. A very strong performance from the sophomore running back. It was just him and Tommy were the only ones that had a carry. So, yeah. I don't know, Justin, you have anything else to say about the Wilson victory over Hempfield?
No. I felt like they did what they needed to do. So that was good. I felt like they played better than they did against Mifflin. I know that may not show in all of the stats,
especially initially.
Right. I know that may not show in all the stats, but I think I think they're doing just fine. Continue to get better. You have Penn Manor this week. I know Penn Manor. Well, we'll talk about them in a few minutes, but. Penn Manor team beat the Hempfield team, so you can't take them lightly.
Right.
But, we need to focus on us, and continue to get better on the things that we need to do. And then I feel like the rest of the stuff will sort itself out. Like, if Wilson handles their business, it kind of falls where it falls, and we'll go from there. But we'll definitely be playing games in November if that's the case.
Right.
So, it's up to us. It doesn't really matter who's lined up across from us. If we do what we can do, I think we're in a pretty good spot.
Well, and we said, after Wilson dropped to 0-2, we preached patience and staying calm, because everything was still on the table. You just have to take care of the business in front of you. The team has responded with 5 wins. A win is a win. Doesn't matter if they're always pretty. I don't know if you would say any of them were a perfect effort. It's tough to play a perfect game when there's so many moving parts. Some were better than others. Obviously, Cheltenham started great, didn't finish great. Reading was, by and large, a strong effort. Maybe the most complete game.
Also, just really weird. Which one did you say?
The Reading game.
Oh, sorry.
Not the Cheltenham game.
Yeah, that's
Cheltenham was super. Well, that
right,
whole
right.
MLK to Cheltenham and that was just all super weird. Reading pretty good.
Yeah.
Cedar Crest pretty good first half, struggled a bit in the second half. Mifflin kind of struggled throughout, but able to weather the storm, get the win. Hempfield, great start. Best start they've had this year.
Oh, absolutely.
21-0, getting it done in all phases, and then things just kind of faded, despite being up 21 at halftime. Second half, again, and there is that weird stuff with the officials, but it wasn't. It just felt like a weird game again. 2 weeks in a row, really 3 weeks in a row, going back to Cedar Crest when we were sweating it out in the second half. So we'll see what happens here at Penn Manor. I really thought the Hempfield game certainly started
Cheltenham
out
was before that. So Cheltenham
before Reading, yeah.
Yeah, so the Cheltenham game, then Reading, right?
Yep.
And then
Cedar
Crest. And so man, lots
right.
of weird
So
ones.
5 wins, but I don't think anyone is satisfied.
Oh no,
with the performance
which
by
is
and large.
honestly where I want to be though. Like
right.
I
don't want to have already peaked.
Right.
And like our friend Andy Herr, I mentioned he does the Saturday or Sunday updates around the LL League and says that, you're getting your best from Wilson in week 10. And kind of would be great if that happened this season. So.
Yeah, that's would certainly use it in week 10. Yes, that would be a good time to have it.
All right, so that's it for our Hempfield recap. We'll move on now to week 8, game number 8 in 2023, and that one will be against the Penn Manor Comets. They will come to Gursky riding a 3-game winning streak after starting the season 0-4 and being shut out in the first 3 weeks against Conestoga Valley, Lampeter, Strasburg, and Solanco. They then lost to Cedar Crest in South Lebanon before traveling down to Shirk Stadium to take on Reading and pull that one out in overtime, 28-27. They then pulled a shocker a week later in Millersville against Hempfield, 23-19. This week they went to Daniel Boone and won that one 14-10. That's quite a drive for them. That was a long time on the bus, but after you get a win,
they weren't playing at 10 a.m. on a Saturday.
That's right. So Penn Manor, 3-game winning streak, sitting at 3-4, and because those 3 games have, because 2 of those 3 games have come against a league opponent, they're actually on the top part of the league standings. Beating Reading and Hempfield. So Wilson and Township in front of them, but Penn Manor in the next pack right behind them. They've got
who do they play before Township?
us. They play us before Township.
Oh, sorry. I saw that as a separate line where it says West Lawn. Oh, I could see it was the L, and I couldn't think of a team that was L.
No, that's
short.
us.
Okay.
So Wilson West Lawn, which is listed on EasternPAFootball.com. That's us this week, October 13th. Friday the 13th. Hopefully no Friday scaries for the Wilson team, and they can just take care of business against the Comets, who Wilson has never lost to. 31 or 32-0. Never dropped a game to Penn Manor.
Let's keep that intact.
That is another streak that I hope continues this week, and we'll see what happens. But it looked like a lost season and a downright terrible season for Penn Manor after being shut out for the first 3 weeks.
Yeah,
that's tough. Now I know, especially those first 2 games were with against really good teams.
Oh yeah,
but I mean, you definitely don't want to be shut out for the first 16 quarters, and that was actually longer.
And then you were still blown out in week 4.
Right, yeah, you lost by 29 or something, 42-13, I think it was. So it was a little bit rough, but they started to get things going. That upset of Hempfield last week certainly got people's attention. I remember when you texted the tweet update to me, I couldn't believe it. It was not something I wanted, having to go play Hempfield the next week. You knew they were going to give us the best shot, which Wilson on the line on the schedule always seems to get the best from people, but I don't ever like the opponent we're playing to lose the week before.
No,
that's not something that I want. In terms of the Comets, they're not a pass first offense. They like to run the ball, and they've been doing it with a few guys in the backwards. By and large, it's been the Smith duo, Willard Smith and Adrian Smith. Willard Smith leads the team in rushing attempts with 64 for 247 yards and a score. Adrian Smith has 37 attempts but 323 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their main quarterback has been Kyle Fournier, 10 completions on 29 attempts, 258 yards, 2 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. His favorite target is Josiah Torres, 5 catches, 192 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the year. But you can't ignore big Demir Wesley. He is a tight end defensive line, a beast for the Penn Manor Comets. He's the one you're going to want to keep an eye on. He has 3 catches, 70 yards, and 1 touchdown, but he does a lot of his work along the line of scrimmage. So, yeah, they got shut out by Conestoga Valley week 1, 27-0. Got shut out against Lampeter Strasburg, 24-0. And then shut out by Solanco, 33-0, before breaking through for some scores against Cedar Crest and then winning the last 3 in a row. I feel like they're very similar to the team we've seen the last 2 years. It took them a little longer to get going this year, but I feel like what we're going to see is the same thing we've seen the last 2 years, which both were Wilson wins. Down in Millersville, by the way. This is the first time that Penn Manor's been to Wilson since 2020.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I feel like, again, kind of like I stated before, I feel like if Wilson does what they're supposed to do, I feel like we'll be okay. It's up to us to do that, though. It's completely in our control. You can't show up and not take care of business because then you could find yourself in a spot like Hempfield, where you're kind of scrambling, and you don't want too many of those. I look back, as crazy as the game was against Hempfield, we had said, we were talking to people before the game, and we felt if we cut down on the turnovers, we win by multiple scores. And what happened?
Didn't turn the ball over.
And we won by multiple scores.
Won by 15.
Right.
Speaking of turnovers, Penn Manor averages 2 turnovers a game.
Oh.
They've fumbled 16 times, gave it away 8 of those 16 times. Also has thrown 6 interceptions on the season. So the Penn Manor team is mistake prone on average. They're going to want to control the clock and ground and pound. If the defense can stop them, put the ball in our playmakers' hands, this should be a game that goes Wilson's way. But got to be clicking.
Right. We've had a few games where we turned it over multiple times in the second half.
Let
teams hang around
close,
and stuff like that. So, but look back to the Hempfield game. How big is it that we didn't turn it over? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
huge. In that game where we jumped up 21-0, then it was kind of just like even in terms of scoring the rest of the way. That's a big deal to not have that kind of pop up on you. So
right. So Penn Manor is relying mostly on their lines, offensive and defensive line. That's what the hope was coming into the season. They have a good offensive line core in Millisock, Sullenberger, Hess, Racher, and Hill. A mixture of underclassmen and seniors. I mentioned Demir Wesley. He has offers from Delaware and Villanova. He's their key returner on offense, the only one that was putting up yardage for this team. Quarterback was a question entering the season, but we covered the expectations there. They don't like to throw the ball that often. Coach John Brubaker likes to set up the ground game, and that's where they've had success the last few weeks. Messing things up over there.
Smash the mic.
So we mentioned. I'm trying to pick out a few more guys that have been singled out as players to watch. Mikey Hollister also running the ball, but playing a key spot along their linebacker core. Sakai Lewis, two-way lineman. Kyle Schmidtke, a fullback and linebacker as well. Mentioned Willard Smith already. Just mentioned Kyle Sullenberger and obviously Demir Wesley. He is the guy. Definitely want to pay attention to him. Very, very strong two-way player for Comets over the last few years. So we'll see what happens when Penn Manor comes to Wilson Gursky Stadium this Friday. Kickoff at 7, not 7:05 like the delayed broadcast this past week at Hempfield. Really, other than the delayed start, there was no like TV timeouts.
No.
There was a guy delaying the start. Like it was like as if it was a college game.
He was on the field.
And I was like, oh man, is this going to be like this whole game? It wasn't. The game was still ridiculously long, but it had nothing to do with the broadcast.
Right.
It was just the way the game was going, with a lot of offense, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of passing, a lot of incompletions, a lot of timeouts, a lot of officiating corrals, talking about things. So it was a very long game. Hopefully it's not like that this week. Hopefully it's a normal amount of time, and Wilson can take care of business, get to win 6th on the year, 6 in a row, get in a good spot in the section race and the District 3 playoffs. I think, Justin, next week may be a time that we can start talking about the power ratings.
On the show, you mean?
On the show, right. We've been talking about power ratings since week 4. But on the show, we can start talking about power ratings, as we'll be 8 games in to the season. And at that point, things have really started to clarify.
Once again, man, there were some crazy scores coming in this week.
Yeah.
So
one of them, probably the biggest one in terms of 6A, District 3 6A, was Cumberland Valley upsetting Central Dauphin on a last-second score. It was 13-14 favor Central Dauphin before Cumberland Valley scored with, 15 seconds left or something like that. And they won the game 19-14.
Well, and I think one of those touchdowns by CD, was a pick 6. I think
you're right. Right.
So,
So Cumberland Valley needed that big time.
Yeah, they did.
And that one hurts us because if we wanted to improve our power rating, we needed Central Dauphin to keep winning. Now they lost to State College. Now they lost to Cumberland Valley. They have a huge game week 10, like we do, against Harrisburg. That'll go a long way.
Wait, they don't play CD East week 10 anymore.
No, they play in week 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like that could be a natural.
I feel like it used to be week 10 because there was years ago where, for the first time in I think like 13 years or something, CD East beat them. Maybe even longer. Right. This was going back now to probably like 6-7 years that it happened. I think was the first time that they had beaten their sister school.
Right. I mean that sets up a huge game though. Yeah. So I understand.
And it will be Friday night because it's at Central Dauphin.
Yeah. Wow.
So as Wilson and Manheim Township are playing, Central Dauphin and Harrisburg will be playing, and actually Central York and York William Penn will be playing. So 6 teams vying for positioning in the District 3 6A playoffs are all playing each other in week 10.
Wow.
And actually, depending on how things go for them, Downtown and Red Lion play that night, and they're both fringe for the playoffs. The loser of that is most likely out. The winner of that could be the 8th seed.
Wow.
So very important games. I wonder who Cumberland Valley plays that night.
I'm just trying to think.
And Cedar Crest, they play Lebanon.
Yeah.
Lebanon hasn't won a game in a few years. Yeah. Cedar Crest is going to win that game easy.
Destroy them.
We talked about this when we talked about power ratings a few weeks ago. My predictions were showing that despite a team beating another team, it doesn't mean you're going to be in front of them in the power ratings. Case in point, I'm not sure Wilson's going to jump Cedar Crest in the power ratings just because of the way things are going.
Right.
Even if we finish with an identical record, Cedar Crest is going to finish in front of us because of their non-league slate in terms of power rating is better than Wilson's. Yeah. And that's something we can cover next week. I don't want to jump into a 20-minute talk about power ratings right now as we're finishing the show. But the power ratings are always posted on PIAAD3.org under power ratings. They're mostly right. I found a few things that weren't, I shouldn't say right. They weren't up to date. They had missed a game, was not input. And I was pulling my hair out saying, why are my numbers not matching up with theirs? It's because their game wasn't updated. They missed a game with some 5A school. I forget who it was. And it was messing up my numbers. But my numbers were right because I included that game.
Right.
Obviously, this was like Thursday or Friday. I was like, how is that not updated?
Right. I thought it was supposed to be updated by Monday.
I think it's Tuesday.
Okay. But
it might be Monday.
Why is it not
But it was the
Saturday?
end of the week, and I was like, what's going on? Why is that game not updated? It didn't make any sense. But and it actually did change the way that things were sorted. That's how crazy it is. I'm predicting when we do the predictions, I'm predicting for like 50 teams every game, and obviously early in the season I'm predicting so many games. One game can make a huge difference on the power ratings. So they're both incredibly important and not important at all.
Right.
So way most things are. Sounds like I'm talking politics. All right. Justin, anything else from Hempfield or Penn Manor?
No, just have a good week of practice. It's homecoming week, so lots of festivities going on in preparation and through that. So, have fun getting yourself ready for homecoming, and go out and have a good showing at the homecoming football game.
So it's homecoming. It is
out, right?
Wilson Athletic Hall of Fame night, where not one but two former Wilson football players are being inducted. I believe it's just two. I'm trying to think of everyone. Well, it's at least two. Pat Zerbe, member of the 2008 Western PA runners-up, District 3 champs, undefeated. One of the best teams in Wilson history.
Best team I've
Best
seen.
team Justin says he's seen, despite him stabbing me in the back all the time with that description. His teammate Rodney Hill also being inducted. Now, I don't know if Rodney will be there. He's kind of busy this time of year. I believe at Duke right now. Correct?
I think so.
So he's having a great year. His team, wherever he goes, the teams are very good.
I think that's a pattern. I think people need to...
Yeah, pay attention.
People in those making decisions need to pay attention.
Collegiately, just recently, UCF, LSU, now Duke. He was with the Buffalo Bills. I talked to him via email a few years ago when the Bills were playing the Chiefs in the I think that was the AFC Championship
I think it was,
game.
yeah.
Both great guys. We'll have to get. Well, I'd love to have them both on the show. We've done a text interview with Rodney. I'd love to get him on the show. Now that Patrick Zerbe's back in coaching, love to get him on the show too. But they will both be inducted into Wilson Athletic Hall of Fame. 5:00 Friday evening is like the official induction, but they will be recognized on the field at halftime of the game on Friday. And Patrick Zerbe was also a guest this week on the
Rich
Garcella and Bob McCool Penn State
Yeah.
Football podcast. And Patrick Zerbe was a captain on the 2013 team
My gosh.
and had one of the key roles on that team, a key block in that incredible overtime win against
I've
Michigan.
told this story before, but I'm up in the upper level screaming, "We're gonna score! Pat Zerbe's in the game." People are looking at me like,
What?
This dude, like, what? Are
He
you
loves
all right?
some fullbacks.
Is he okay? Yes, in true.
Well,
in
and we
true-
literally did because of it.
Yeah. I wasn't wrong.
Was that for Belton?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't wrong. Like, I wasn't wrong,
How can you believe that was 10 years ago?
dude. Let's not talk about that. I've had this conversation with Pat too on the sidelines, that him being there and like being back in the area as a full grown like adult. Like, he's not like
With a family.
right. Like, yeah, that's one of those that makes me feel real old. I chaperoned the trip he went on when he was on Wallop. He went on the Wallop trip, and I chaperoned that trip.
No. Trip down memory lane. Well, we can do that when we get Zerbe on the show sometime. And I don't want just a post-game thing, too. I want like a sit-down.
Right.
I want to sit down and talk to him. Because I didn't get to see the 2018 very much. I saw him in the district championship game against Cumberland Valley. So I was living through your descriptions of the team that year. And unfortunately, you got to let me know what happened in State College in the state semifinals, which I know many listeners of this program, watchers of this program, are still mad about how that went down.
Honestly, I don't know that a game that I didn't play in. So a high school game I didn't play in. I don't. That one rocked me pretty hard. Like, the games in Columbia when we lost, and I knew I was moving. Like, those were tough, but that was like a personal thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't it. This, like, losing, like, watching the kids lose that game was a tough one.
Tough, yeah. Overtime, multiple overtimes, right? Or was it just one?
What's that?
Was it more than one?
I feel like it
overtime?
was multiple.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunate. But the last thing I want to say here before I go is I got a notification on Monday that we had a voice message on the Spotify platform, Anchor.fm, which is Spotify for podcasters. And I knew that was an option. It's still an option. However, when I click on their link to listen to it, it doesn't take me to it. And I haven't been able to find it. And I've gone through a bunch of Q&As and messages, and it doesn't show up anywhere. So if you are Football Dad 07, that's who left us the voicemail. I'm not playing it or listening to it because I don't want to, or that I listened to it and didn't like what you said. I have no idea what you said because I haven't been able to get to it. So if that's you, send us a message through like Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram of what you wanted to say, and we can get to it that way. Until I can figure out why Spotify for podcasters, Anchor, isn't giving me my voice messages, I can't address whatever it is you wanted to say. So hopefully we can figure it out, or you reach out to us in another way. But I did want to say we're not ignoring you. We did sort of get it. We got a notification that we received it, but we cannot access it, and that's kind of a problem. So, all right. I think that is it. Once again, congratulations to the Bulldogs team for winning their 5th game in a row, but also to assistant coach Jeremy Palm for winning number 200 in his career as an assistant coach with the Bulldogs. Awesome feat. And like I said, we are definitely tracking down Jeremy to get to talk to him this week, this Friday night, homecoming Athletic Hall of Fame against Penn Manor, kickoff at 7:00 at Gursky Stadium. All right. I think that is it. So for Justin Raffauf and the entire Wilson football team, I'm Joe Mays. Until next time, remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud, or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.